Hey everyone. Welcome to week. Oh my God, hold on. My drink is frozen and it's melting, and it is coming out and seeping out. All right, sorry about that. Well, welcome to week 13ish, 12, one of those. Sorry this lecture is so late. I've been grading, and I've been I had to make an 11:01 lecture and all this kind of stuff. So, but here I am. I decided to make this lecture with my light on because a lot of them have been really dark. So, all right, let's get to this because I have 30 minutes and I hope we can get done with everything in 30 minutes. Not sure if we can though. Okay. I'm going to try to just only use my web browser to go over this stuff. So that way I don't have to keep doing new shares and all that kind of junk. All right, so the first thing first is lessons essay 3. Go down here, essay 3. Okay, wait, where is this? Let's see. You should be able to see here in just a moment. All right, there it is. Essay 3 description. Okay, click on this. And let's see if it pops up in my window browser. Nope, I need to. Okay, new share. Let's go data. All right. So this is the essay 3 that you are going to be writing. Okay. Essay 3 is this is the literary research essay. You were supposed to have read a book. I'm going to be talking about We Cast a Shadow. That's the book that I chose. All right. And all my examples are going to be around. You may choose a college level novel. This essay is analytical. It's not a summary. Don't retell the story. Assume your reader has read it. All right. I've already discussed about how this book had to be a book that was written in the last 5 years. You all had to submit already the book that you picked. Okay. And you get credit for that assignment if you picked a book that was published in the last 5 years and that it tells a story. It could also be nonfiction. It could be a true story. It could be a memoir. It could be fictional. It could be fantasy. It could be any genre you wanted to for it to be, as long as it's been published in the last 5 years. Okay, again, this essay is analytical. It's not a summary. I'm not looking for a book report. I'm looking for a book analysis. Okay, your paper needs to be about 4 full pages, which means about 4.5. Okay, about 1,400 words. It needs to be in MLA formatting, 12-point font. You need to have at least 3 secondary sources, 3 outside sources. The book counts as 1 source and then 3 other sources. Okay. Gotta do some research for this. The things you're going to be talking about is kind of like just like what we talked about in some of the other books. I'm sorry, the other stories essay that you wrote and the poetry essays. All right. The big thing though is like themes. Every book has multiple themes. Okay. Themes is just what the book says about specific topics. So one book could have 5, 6, 7, 10 different themes that it talks about. It discusses relationships, it discusses anger or emotions, it discusses the effects of war or the things bad people do. It might discuss the existence of God, all sorts of different things. I'm going to go over today an example of pulling out themes of this book, so that way you kind of have a better idea. All right, and then also you can do literary analysis. What does the book say about society? You can perform a feminist analysis of the book. You can perform a moralistic or a Marxist or a critical race theory reading of the text. We went over that towards a week, like 2 or 3. You had to do a literary analysis reading of a short story. Okay, so you should be kind of familiar with this. And then essay 2 was all about literary analysis because you were analyzing poetry from either a feminist perspective or a queer perspective, or from a race perspective. Okay. So if you have if you're having individual problems about trying to understand all that, you need to contact me so we can talk individually. Okay. So what you're going to do is this week, let's pull up the assignments. Okay. So I'm introducing essay 3. All right. And I'm going to go over writing an outline for your paper. All right. You are going to have the opportunity to submit an extra credit outline. All right, you need to write an outline for the paper. It's really, really important. In college, look, in college, the idea is that you're becoming adults. If you're not already adults, some of you are already adults, okay, and who are in college. Others of you are in high school, but you're taking college classes, all right? And so you have a foot in the world of the adult. And what really separates the adult world from the adolescent child world is that adults do things because it's good for them. Even if they don't get, even if it's not required, okay? They know it's good for them and they do it because, not because they're told, but because they know it's right. And so for like an outline, I'm not gonna require everyone to write an outline, all right? But I want you to make the wise decision of writing an outline, because I can often tell the differences between an essay that had an outline and essays that did not have outlines. Okay. Essays that have outlines are very focused. They stay on topic. They are well detailed. And then other essays that don't have outlines, I can tell that they're very circular. They're kind of weaving in and out. All right. They're kind of rambling. And so they usually receive lower points. Okay. So what you're going to do is you are going to create an outline. It's extra credit if you do it. All right. And I'm going to go over how to do that right now. Let's see here. All right. So I'm going to go over how to do an outline. And if you create your outline this week, like you should, you should, okay, it's extra credit. You will submit it here, outline, extra credit. Submit your outline here and get extra credit if it is done how I instruct. If you submit a crappy outline, then you're going to get crappy extra credit, which isn't much at all. Okay. If you actually go the distance and do what I've asked you to do, and you submit it the way that I instructed, okay, then we'll get higher extra credit. All right. And the due date can be flexible. I know on the assignment sheet it says the 31st, but obviously I'm slacking on how many days late I am on this lecture. So you might need some extra days to write your outline, which is fine. If you write a really good outline, it will really help you to write your essay, as you'll see in a moment. Okay, a lot of your essays are written by the outline. So you can submit your outline after the 31st. The idea is that you write your outline first. And even if you submit it on a Wednesday, whatever, next week, that's fine. There's no due date for the outline. Okay. So write the outline first and then submit it whenever you can. Okay. And as long as you do it, you'll get extra credit if it's good. All right. So what you are going to do here is you are going to open up this outline template right here. You're going to click on this. All right. And it will look like this. All right. When you open it up. All right. And this is where you are going to type your outline, and you will save it, and you will, let's see, let me go back to my, here we go. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, good, I am. And you will submit, when you're finished with it, you'll submit it here, the outline extra credit, okay? All right, so for your outline, you will make sure you write your name. It's in MLA formatting. Title is the title of the book that you read. Okay, so for me, I'm doing We Cast a Shadow. So I'm typing We Cast a Shadow. It's a title of a novel, of a book. So it's in italics. It's not underlined and it's not in quotation marks. Okay. And then I think about my main thesis. What is my book about? What is the main idea of my book? And let's see. The main idea, I've already pre-written this, and so I'm just copy and pasting it to make it seem as if, all right, to do one piece at a time, because I don't want to overload you with like all this filled out at once. So my main idea is this, okay? After reading my book, I know that my author, okay, my main thesis, Maurice Carlos Ruffin, who is the author of the book, Maurice Carlos Ruffin addresses the issues of race in America by creating a dystopic novel. I guess fine, I'll just do dystopian novel that challenges the limits of conformity from the perspective of an assimilating Black character. That's my thesis, okay? Because, you know, essay 3 description says that we are writing about themes, topics. What does the book address? All right. And so my book addresses racism, all right, but from the perspective of a Black character who is trying to assimilate into white culture. All right. He's trying to conform. And so it is an issue of race, but it's an issue about how race also affect the racism of white people affects some Black people into also adopting those racist ideas, okay, which develops a lot of self-hate. All right, now I have, you know, I'm going to here in my outline list the main points I'm going to discuss in my body paragraphs. All right, I have a general thesis, but then I know I have very specific points I want to make. Okay, and so those specific points that I want to make are as follows. I have 3 so far, okay? Each of these are going to be their own body paragraphs. This is helping myself to tell myself what I'm going to focus on in my body paragraphs. My first body paragraph is going to be about cultural assimilation. My second body paragraph is going to be about body dysmorphia. And my third paragraph is going to be about how Black heritage is seen as the grotesque in my book, okay? When I read the book, these are the things that stuck out to me, okay? So when I go here to my outlines, my body paragraph outlines, I'm just going to, but before I go into that, I'm thinking about how, you know, I might want to quote here that kind of illustrates somewhat of what I'm already talking about. And so, you know, so when I was thinking about this book, it reminded me of another book that I read once. And that deals with this. And so like in my thesis, I use this term assimilating. And I realized that that term came from a book that I read called Stamped from the Beginning. And my reader might not know what that means. So I think it might be good for me to include a quote about assimilation. And so this, let's see here. So like I read this book, Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism in You, okay? And I found this quote that I think will be really good in my introduction. So I'm gonna include it here, okay? And it's I went ahead and included the for myself, since I'm writing this, I'll go ahead and include the citation so that way I know how to properly, I already have it properly cited in my paper when I turn this outline into a paper, okay? And so I have a quote here that says, both segregationists and assimilationists, as I recall these racist positions in Stamped from the Beginning, think Black people are to blame for racial inequality, or I'm sorry, inequity. Both the segregationists and the assimilationists think there is something wrong with Black people. And that's why Black people are on the lower and dying end of racial inequality. The assimilations believe Black people as a group can be changed for the better, and the segregationists do not. And so, reading this book, I realized that the main character, the narrator, he's a Black man, but he is an assimilationist. He believes that Black people are like himself are not, they're on the lower end. And so that he needs to assimilate into white culture. And the whole point of the book is about how he goes through essentially a race change. He gets his skin changed and bleached to white. Okay, so I want to include this quotes because I think it helps to kind of explain my use of assimilating. Okay, I would include this in my introduction probably. And it is one of my sources. So that counts as one of my 3. All right, so I've stated that my 3 main points I'm going to discuss are cultural assimilation, body dysmorphia, and Black heritage as the grotesque. So I'm going to go into outlining my first body paragraph, which is cultural assimilation. So I'm going to copy and paste this here, okay? And in my outline for each of my body paragraphs, I want to pull a excerpt, like a quote, or summarize apart from the story. And each body paragraph should have some sort of secondary source quoted in it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pull out this specific part of the story that I'm going to be referring to when I discuss cultural assimilation. And I'm going to think about a quote that I would want to use from a secondary source in dealing with this paragraph, okay? So my first body paragraph, cultural assimilation, I'm going to use this point from the story. Get rid of this. All right. So the unnamed narrator is ashamed of being born Black. So he moves into a white neighborhood, marries a white woman, purposely dresses like an LL Bean model, which is a reference to white people, and is a lawyer at a law firm that it only has white executives, okay? So I didn't have an exact quote that I wanted to use in the book. Instead, I wanted to summarize main points that are mentioned in the book, all right, that all deal with his attempt to culturally assimilate. Oh, I put this in the wrong. It's up to right there, boom, okay? Now, in terms of a secondary source to support this, okay, I am reminded of a book that I read called The Autobiography of Malcolm X, all right? And he talks a lot in one chapter about the changing of hair that a lot of Black people did in the 30s. It's called conking. And that just came from my own personal reading. When I was reading this book, I just thought about that. It reminded me of this previous book, okay? And so I went back and I found this quote from Malcolm X from his book, okay? So like you can use other books as secondary sources because you are relating them. You are saying how these 2 books discuss a very similar topic. Here's how another writer has mentioned, or talked about the same thing. And I don't know why my copy and pasting is doing it like this. This is like super annoying. All right, so my secondary source is Malcolm X and Alex Haley from the Autobiography of Malcolm X, okay? And my quote is, "How ridiculous I was, stupid enough to stand there simply lost in admiration of my hair now looking white, reflected in the mirror in Shorty's room. I vowed that I'd never again be without a conch. And I never was for many years. This was my first really big step towards self-degradation. When I endured all that pain, literally burning my flesh to have it look like a white man's hair. I had joined the multitude of Negro men and women in America who are brainwashed into believing that the Black people are inferior and white people superior, that they will even violate and mutilate their God-created bodies to try to look pretty by white standards." Okay, so this is a real long quote. I'm actually not going to use this entire quote in my paper. I'm going to use snippets of it. But in my outline, I'll include the entire quote because I want to capture that entire quote in my paper, even if I'm not going to It's not going to be quoted word for word. All right, I'll probably summarize some of it and just include maybe this last part. But for the outline, this quote can be really long, but for my actual paper, it's not going to be this actual long. Okay. All right, so now I have a secondary source and I have my primary source. Okay, so now I'm gonna move to my next body paragraph, which is body dysmorphia. I want to put this here. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to my book and think about like what would be a good excerpt from my book. And since I used a summary from the for the previous paragraph, this time I'm actually going to use a direct quote from the book. Here we go. This is a direct quote. It says, "I had almost forgotten about my demelanization. When I was undergoing the process at Personal Hill, I obsessed over my improving visage. It had taken several long months, and each week after a transracial session, I would compare my retoned face in the mirror to the memory of my darker self fading to the grasslands of the past." Okay. And so body dysmorphia, this idea that he hates his body, he hates the blackness of his body. And so he wanted to change it. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so I don't have necessarily another direct secondary source for this one because I might feel like I just want to talk about this in general. Or I could take part of this quote from up here. And since this is such a long quote, okay, I could take some of this to use here also, because which is fine because I have an outside quote here. I have an outside quote here. And then in my next body paragraph, I have two outside sources that I'm going to use that deal with the Black heritage as the grotesque. So let's see here. Okay. So for this paragraph, okay, I have this summary of the text. Oops. I have the summary about this this group, the ADZs, an Afrocentric terrorist group in the novel. They were Africans. They wear. Oh, that's messed up. They wear African style masks, and their members tend to have naturally long hair, dreads, and afros. Okay, and they're seen as villainy. All right, or villainous. That's probably better. Okay. And so I want to talk about in this paragraph what the grotesque is and how it relates to racism. And then also I found this other quotes. So I did some research and I found this article on Galileo about the grotesque and racism. And then I also found this, let's see, I found an interview with the author of the book that he gives about this group. Let's see. Yeah, it was on NPR. I have the address here. So I found, like I said, this article. I just did some general Google research. Oh, it's right here. We cast a shadow. The horrors are close to home. And in this interview that is given by to the writer, let's see here. Oops. That in reference to the the way that Black people are perceived. Okay. He said, it's a sad testament to our country's treatment of people of color that such developments don't seem all that implausible. And like if I was going to be using this quote instead of developments, because we don't know what these developments are, since he's talking about this is from a conversation that he was having. So by developments, all right, here we have you can use what's called these are brackets, and you can change a word to better clarify it. Okay. And for here in this case, he's talking about in the article the development of villainizing organizations that protest for racial equality or protest against racism, such as the Black Lives Matter organization, and how even now we can see that the Black Lives Matter group, especially with all the events that happen in Oregon and different places, right, that they are being accused of being the source of rioting, that they are anarchists, and that they're being villainized, that their movement is being villainized, and that he sees that it's that throughout history, Black social rights groups have often been relabeled as terrorists, as nuisances, as criminal. Okay. So he takes this villainization of Black protest groups and he makes it into an extreme where they become actual, in his book, they're perpetuated as being actual terrorists. But that's from the perspective of this Black character who sees them that way. He's an unreliable narrator. Okay, so I would explain that in this paragraph. And I want to talk about the grotesque. So I found this. So once again, I found this other article on the grotesque. And I would pull my quote out. Let's see here. Another secondary source. Is this, that the grotesque is used to address a criticism toward white supremacy on Black subordination. And the grotesque just means something that is seen as nasty and is feared, all right, by society, even if it isn't really deserving of that. And so here it's like it would apply because this Black protest group has been villainized and seen grotesquely as this terrorist organization, but that relabeling them of calling them looters and terrorists and anarchists and all this is a result of the racism put onto them because they are Black. So that's what I would argue based on this book that I read. Okay. And then conclusion would be something like the overall theme. Okay. And so like sort of like reduce it all down to one major focused idea. And so for this case, I would say something like assimilation is a type of accepted and conditional racism. And I would explain that in this paragraph. All right, so this would be my outline. I have my main topics, I have my thesis, I have my sources that I'm using, I have quotes. All right, I know what each body of paragraph is about. And it would be really easy for me to then now attack my essay and start writing it piece by piece and just focus on one paragraph at a time and writing my rough draft, which I'll go over more of that also next week about turning your outline into an essay. Okay. So what you should do for the next couple of days is focus on writing an outline. It's beneficial to you in the process of writing your essay, and it's beneficial to you because it'll be extra credit. Okay. And you want to have plenty of references and quotes to the book itself and to outside sources. All right. Submit it online. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this all made sense. Okay. All right. Hey.